So today we have a Briggs and Stratton 6 3/4 horsepower auto choke mower that has been well loved. As you can tell, the handle is no longer here. We'll have to put a new one on, and since we're doing that, we're going to be replacing the old cable or cord. The cable, however, has definitely been worked on. Just the sheeting, everything else has been broken off. There's nothing on the other end of it as well, so we're going to put a brand new cable on there. The oil is actually brand new and full, so that's good. Something went right on that. As you can tell, the cover is also no longer on there, so we're going to put a new cover on there. I happen to have another one. And we're going to clean the carburetor, and then we're going to give it a bath and call it good. So now we're going to do the carburetor. We're going to take this off first. I'll make our life a lot easier. Just a Phillips head screwdriver. Put that off to the side. Then the 5/16. Let's take a look what we have. It's dirty and dusty. Come on. There we go. And that needs to be cleaned. And then, it's definitely seen cleaner days, but it's not bad. This is plastic, so it's not rust or anything. Oh, that's on there good. 5/16 as well. I like to put inside the air filter cover. Kind of keeps things together. That was a lot easier. And then there's one more in the corner. If you'll notice, this one, there we go, almost lost it, has a spring right here. That looks a little dirty, so we're going to take that. Maybe this isn't an auto choke, it is a primer. Okay, so yeah, primer. Primer bulb is good, so we're going to take that off. We'll need 2 sets of pliers for these. One for the fuel clip, right there. We just push that off to the side. The line is definitely dirty, but very pliable, so that's good. And then make it a little easier on the cells. We have little tiny vice grips. Just kind of press off the fuel line. Then now we have fuel pliers. Goes around. It's easier if you just kind of twist it a little bit and break the seal almost in a way. And then once you do that, a little bit of fuel will come out, but that's just the fuel that's in the line already. And not that much. What I like to do, since we're already here, is I have a white cup. White cup is good because it tells you if there's water or anything else in it. There'll be dirt because of the line, but just put a little bit of gas in there. Recrimp it. It's definitely not the greatest. We'll take that out and put fresh gas in there. I use non-ethanol fuel, so we'll just put that in there. Normal fuel is clear, well, almost clear. Should be very, very clean. That one definitely is not. 3/8. There's 2 bolts on either side. Just be very careful. That one just. Okay, so now this is the hard part. We're going to take the bolts off. The other one fell down. Okay. This piece is plastic right here. So take it off. You're going to spill fuel, but it's okay. Push this down as far as you can and kind of twist. Oh, you don't break it. And this could be a little tedious, so don't force it, just kind of coerce off with your finger like that. And there you are. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just rip this gasket off. It's no longer good anymore. It's probably old. Definitely clean it off. I'm going to shove this in the ultrasonic cleaner. But first, let's clean it off. We'll take it apart together and we'll get started on the other projects. Okay, so here we are. I took off a couple pieces of gasket. It didn't come all the way off, but we'll scrape it off later. And I just kind of wire brushed it off. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to go in the cleaner. So 1/2 inch, set to loosen. Now it is. And there we go. It's going to be a little gooey. So this bolt isn't 100% a bolt. It is part bolt, part jet. If you look in there, that tiny little hole, if you can see, there's an even smaller jet hole in there. The black part is a gasket. So what we're going to do is set that off to the side, crack the bowl off. There we go. Sometimes it takes a little force. And let's take a look and see what we have. Oh, that is disgusting. Okay, yeah, that's water, that's old fuel, and probably hopes and dreams that went down the drain. We're just going to pour that out, and it looks pretty nasty. Okay, so we'll put that in there. The float, it's plastic, it's not been bad, so it should be okay. We'll still put in the cleaner, make sure it floats. The pin, put that off to the side. Float comes off, needle, and everything else is pretty much okay to be cleaned. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the ultrasonic cleaner. Let's take this off too. This seal's disgusting and it looks horrible. We don't have to get all of it off after we're done. We're just going to take this to the wire wheel and make sure everything is good. A brass wire wheel as well. That's actually pretty important. Any other types, you run the risk of scraping or marring it, and it's coming off in a million pieces. We'll just wire wheel the rest of that off. And so let's go ahead. We'll get another bowl. I like to keep another one. You put the needle, the pin, the gas, the jet. So we're going to pull off the gasket. That way we don't ruin it. They usually come off pretty easy. They don't come off too much of a fight. Put that off to the side. That's disgusting. Put that in there. Float on top. And we'll put this into the ultrasonic cleaner. Now, if you don't have an ultrasonic cleaner, because most people don't worry. You can take Carb spray and just kind of clean it yourself. Just make sure to take a really long time. Make sure you do a very thorough job. Float is floating. That's good. Put that in there. Inside of this is 75% water and about 25% pine sol. So we're going to put the top on. It's not up to temp, but it will get there right in the middle of it. Put it for 10 minutes. And there we go. I'll bring it back when we start working on other stuff. So while that's cleaning itself, let's take off the fuel tank. 3 5/16 bolts. I put them on the deck. And it's actually a good point to kind of put this out there. This is the bolt that came off. You see there's like a sleeve on it. This one does not. They are both the same thread, same size. This one's a little bit longer, but it's very important to keep them separated because this one can go in the slot designed for this, but this one cannot. Okay, now we have to have a 3/8. In the back of the gas tank there is a 3/8 down here. And it's good to have an extension on this type of thing. There we go. That's a rather long bolt, and also sleeved. Now, looks like a rock fill out. The gas tank, which is empty now, we took the gas out while we were waiting. Put that off to the side, and now we have to put our 5/16 back on. because the oil dipstick is connected. And it's the same bolt. Back where those came from. Now you could take it off, you could leave it on. I like to leave it on to keep it clean and just kind of push it off to the side. Back to 3/8. 3/8 bolts here. Yet again, extension time. 3/8 bolts right there. These I keep separate because they're a different length. Now, with any luck, they might get stuck here, but with any luck, you just pull it off. Come on. There we go. Okay, so now, let us go ahead and get a line ready, and we'll come back. Okay, so I have everything pulled out. I'm going to clip this because there is a little metallic stop on it and you can't just pull it out. So let's go ahead and do that. I also have a pick in there to kind of hold the gear in place, because once you pull the string out, it kind of winds up a little spring. You don't want that spring to kind of undo itself, because you could always put it in and it's not going to be a problem, but it's just a giant pain. So I was lucky enough where it didn't break, but if yours did break, you would have to turn this 6, maybe 5, maybe 7 times. But you just make sure you don't go too tight. If you hear something crunchy, don't do it at all. You have to take this off, pull the whole thing out, look at the clips, and it would be a good idea if you see the little rust in there. When we're done, we're going to put a little oil, kind of lubricate it up. Now we have string. You see right here, that's where it comes out. That's where it goes in, or goes in and comes out, other way. And you can either go through the hole and come out, or I like going the other way, just makes it a little easier. Either way though, we're going to have to prep our string. This is just a lawnmower cord. I, P&W, am about 6 feet tall, so I do about a foot taller than I am, so that's 7, maybe 7.5 feet. Burn it. Man hands. Ow, ow, ow. There we go. Put it through, and hopefully it will just find its way in. Might have to. Not wanting to go that way, we'll go the other direction. There's really not a wrong way, not a right way of doing this. Just as long as the string goes through. A little guide to push it in. Let's get a smaller screwdriver or something. There we go. Okay. So now that we have it through there, oh. Ah, so close. Okay, let's push it through a little bit more. There we go. Okay. Well, I guess now you don't have to burn the other end. So this one, I am not a Boy Scout. I don't really know a lot of knots. What I just do is I just twist it one more time, goes through. Make sure that you don't have a lot of excess string on this side. Make it tight. And quick little burn. We don't care if it looks pretty. No, we'll see. It just keeps it sealed and it keeps it nice and taut or tight. That goes in there. Now, before we take the pick out, we take the other end, handle, put it through the handle. This part can be a little treacherous sometimes, and they don't like to go through. This handle is actually nice. The other ones that have like 2 openings on one on each side, that could be a little annoying. But same knot. You could do like a double knot or whatever it's called, but it seems like those come out. This one never really does. Pull it tight. Now we get some oil. I like to use Marble. It's a good oil. Just put a little oil in there. Okay, very important. Hold the line while you take out whatever you have jammed in there, so it doesn't just recoil instantly back. Good way of getting a handle square in the end. That's it. Now if you see, the dogs open up. Both of them are there. It's nice and smooth. Don't have to worry about any jamming. And now we're going to go ahead and put it back on the motor. Same way it came off. Like I said, this part is kind of rough, so kind of work its way in there. There we go. There we go. Make sure to always remember the oil before we start anything, because you will forget it if you just put the gas tank on there. Okay, I'll go ahead and put the screws back on, and then next time I see you, we'll put the carb together. Okay, so carburetor's out, cleaned it, wire wheeled it. It looks pretty good. We took a piece of wire and kind of just put it through the holes. Very, very small. You don't want to bore it out or anything. Make sure all three of them are nice and clean. Put the gasket back on. Set that off to the side. This part could be a little tricky, so let's get a better angle. Here we go. The little top of it goes inside. Wipe off any of the pieces of dirt that are still remaining. And then it goes in there, that little red seat makes contact with it, and that's it. Just make sure it's still on. Put the pin in. Sometimes a pin can be a little temperamental. There we go. Make sure the foil is good. Now, blow on this. With it like this, it should not go. With it, you lift it up a little bit, it should hear air. Let's see. Perfect. Okay. Take a new gasket seal, since we ground off the old one. Put that on. Okay, we need our bowl. Came out a lot cleaner. Maybe take a little towel. On the bowl itself, I do like to take just a little bit of carburetor cleaner. It kind of gets all the nooks and crannies out of it. The ultrasonic cleaner will definitely do a very, very good job, but this is just a little extra. You do not want this to be wet with carburetor cleaner when you put it on there, because it will cause that seal to grow. So I'm just going to blow it off, shake it off a little bit. And it's carburetor cleaner, it dries very, very quickly. Put that back on. This type of bowl doesn't really matter how you put it on, just make sure it's on. Make sure you're not cross-threading it, because this is brass going into aluminum. Take your socket, 1/2 inch, make sure it's tight. It doesn't have to be very tight, just snug. And we have a freshly cleaned carburetor. Let's go ahead and put it back on the machine and see what happens. Okay, so now I already have the bolts on. Same thing, linkage, be very, very careful you don't break it. Put it on, slip it over. Right here there's a little rubber gasket, make sure that's still on there. And 3/8. Remember the 3/8, here we are. There's the ducts. Make sure you're not cross-threading them. Okay, Fun ring. Put the fuel line back on. Take your pliers. Put the clip back on. So this is something that I do. These gaskets sometimes won't seal very well, and the primer bulb pushes air through this little channel inside the carburetor. I like to put just a smallest amount of dry RTV on there and make sure it's clean. The outside of it's a little dirty, obviously, but the inside of it's clean. It kind of does two things. It keeps the seal, keeps it pressed on there, and it's not going to ruin anything. It's not going to plug anything as long as you put a very small amount on there. That's the very important. You don't want to put too much. You literally just want to skin. This is the crankcase vent. It goes on this little tab. Tab in there. Put the screws on. You do not want these super tight. And then there's one more. That one doesn't really matter if it's super tight. We don't obviously want it that tight. And what I'm going to do is I have a new cable right here. Put that on and put a new air filter on it. Put the cover back on. I have a new top cover, and we'll put some gas in it. The next time I see you, we'll go ahead and get it started. This is also the bolt I wanted to bring up because I couldn't see it before. This is on the underside of the gas tank. It takes 3/8 and locks it in place. Hey, so real quick, I wanted to bring this up. I went to look underneath there, and besides being dirty, we'll pressure wash later, get all that nonsense off. Look at the blade. This is usually a sign of a bent shaft or a bad blade. I think it's a bad blade based on what I'm seeing, because the blade looks a little funky. I mean, it just looks a lot different. But see how it's mostly level? I think if you spin it, oh, and the spark plug is disconnected. If you spin it, roughly the same location, it's like a good, I don't know, whatever that distance is, inch and a half lower. So I'm going to put a different blade on there to see if I can get that taken care of as well. Okay, blade is on, spark plug is still disconnected. If you look at it right there, pretty much flat. And then you twist it around, other side, pretty much flat. And I sharpened it and balanced it, of course. And something else to kind of bring up is that was the color of the gas in there. And if you look on the bottom, there's definitely water. Okay, so now, moment of truth. So far what we have in this is a little bit of line, new cover, blade, spark plug, air filter, cable. So that's a decent amount of stuff, but luckily I have all those. If you were going to buy all that, the cable's about 18 bucks a line, depending on how much you want to buy. You could buy kits for like 6 bucks. Spark plug, 3-4 bucks. So let's see, that's, I don't know, I mean, you don't even need the cover, so let's say you could do all this, let's say 30 bucks conservatively. Let's go ahead and push the primer and see what happens. That little sputter was me pushing or releasing the bail and pulling back on just to make sure it would continue running. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pressure wash this, and other than that, that's all we need to do. Yeah, make sure to subscribe and leave comments below. Have a good day.